Ranking Member Udall. Chief Tidwell, good to have you here again. I want to thank you for your commitment also to continue to work on ways to reduce obstructionist litigation in Montana, as well as what you deal with, I think, oftentimes around the country. I also share the concern echoed by Senator Tester about the trail budget reductions. I'm an avid user myself. Perhaps when many senators in August are off traveling around the world, my wife and I enjoy using the trails in Montana, in the back country, and I'd ask you to take a look at that. It's hard to find parking places anymore, a lot of trailheads in Montana. We've been discovered and continue to maintain what we have well, but thanks for looking at that. Regarding the Farm Bill, as you're aware, we've identified nearly 5 million acres in Montana that were designated as insect and disease areas with the 2014 Farm Bill. For FY 15 and 16, my understanding is we currently have 9 Farm Bill projects in process in Montana. That covers about 6,200 acres. I'm also told there's about 25 additional Farm Bill-related projects slated over the next 3 years. I also want to emphasize and reinforce my appreciation of the Forest Service strike teams that have been in Montana who are working to utilize the Farm Bill authorities. This is a step in the right direction. Here's the challenge. We've identified in Montana about 5 million acres with dead or dying trees, and that's something we've been communicating to Montanans back home, is that these are dead and dying trees. 5 million acres, you take 6,200 acres of projects have been identified so far, do the quick math, it's about 0.1% is currently on the slate to address dead and dying trees, which of course present a wildfire risk. Question one is, in the conference report to the FY16 spending bill, Congress directed the Forest Service to spend at least $5.4 million to carry out the 14 Farm Bill. But I'm concerned the agency has not followed this congressional direction. Do you know how much funding is in the FY16 for the Forest Service? What have they dedicated to carrying out the Farm Bill authority?
Well, Senator, we're looking at 34 projects under the Farm Bill authorities, and with those 34 projects, we'll spend over $10 million. So we'll actually exceed what you asked us to be able to do. And I expect that even by the end of the year, that number will even will increase, because as our folks are getting more comfortable using the authorities, there's more states that are entering into good neighbor authority agreements with us and being able to bring their resources to the table, just like Montana's doing. So I expect that by the end of the year, that'll even increase.
And so I'm glad to hear you're well above the $5 million. That's good news. And again, when we look at the overall acreage treated, it's still just about a rounding error. We've got a long ways to go. So I want to continue to invest in this where we can still recover dead and dying trees until they become unsalvageable. Question though, have you directed your personnel in your DC office with a mission to ensure the regional offices are maximizing the utilization of these authorities?
We are having those ongoing discussions to be able to look at every authority we have, the flexibility we have to be able to get the work done on the ground. So we're actually revisiting our appraisal system to make sure that we're using the maximum flexibility to be able to get the work accomplished. We're also looking at the potential to be able to look at how we can, for lack of a better term, subsidize or reflect in the appraisal longer haul distances to be able to get the wood, to the mills, I think. Our focus is on getting the work done, and we are continuing to, look at everything we have available for us to get that done.
Do you know about how many folks, I appreciate the leadership there. I think it's all about focus, waking up every morning and driving this. How many people in D.C. are focused on this, would you say?
Well, I can tell you our forest management staff, the majority of them are focused, but there's just a few. And once again, when I look at where we are today, we got 49% fewer foresters today than what we had when we were producing the same amount of timber that we're projecting to do this year. We're fortunate that in your region, we have probably one of the best people we have to really understand our appraisal system to be able to look at that. So I'm optimistic that we're going to be able to maximize our flexibility to do everything we can to get the work done, but even more importantly, to keep the industry alive.
Yeah, well, that's
we
what
have to have
we're down to a handful of sawmills left in Montana. We used to have 30 when I was growing up there. It's the endangered species is probably sawmills in Montana. We'd probably add them to the list. Regarding tribal forest protection, I want to shift gears. Chief Tidwell, as you know, the Tribal Forest Protection Act of '04 authorized the Forest Service to prioritize tribal forestry projects in Forest Service and BLM land to protect these neighboring Indian trust resources from wildfire disease and threats originating on nearby federal lands. Unfortunately, in more than a decade, only six projects have been carried out in 10 years. Last year, the House passed a forestry bill, H.R. 2647. It included provisions to give tribes more certainty in exercising these authorities. Question, do you agree that provisions such as those in that House-passed bill are needed to ensure that more work near tribal lands gets done?
So the provisions that we're addressing to help support the tribes and help us to be able to do a better job working with them, yes, we feel that those are helpful. We've also invested in some efforts this past year to be able to work with the tribes, and so we're going to have another 6 projects this year, which will basically double what we've been able to accomplish in the past.
It's a better trend line. Looking
So
at 6
it
in
is.
10 years, and get 6 more this year, that's good. Last question, and I'm out of time. We've seen some success with the TFPA in Montana, as with the CSKT's McGinnis Cabin project. Overall, the promise of TFPA remains unfulfilled, however. In an Indian Affairs Committee this last month, I secured the commitment of the Department of Interior's Acting Assistant Secretary for Indian Affairs, Larry Roberts, to work with us and with the USDA to address challenges in tribal forestry. My question, Chief Tidwell, can I get your commitment to work with me and with the BIA to do the same?
Yes, you have that commitment from myself and from our staff, and it was when I was the regional forester there in the northern region when we did the first project, and so as you share that we've only done 6 over those years.
You have firsthand experience.
We had the first, but now we need to be able to move this in a very different place.
All right, look forward to working on that, Chief Tidwell. Thank you.